What were you doing before 2021, and what happened, in April or in September when you're like, all right, we're starting Alpine Fencing. I'm doing this myself. We're going to build a company around this. How did that story come together?
My parents migrated from the Ukraine about 30 years ago. So growing up in America, all immigrants, they get into the trades. That's the first thing. So grew up in the trades, same with a lot of family members and friends. So I'm turning 18. I need to get a license. I don't know what specifically I need to get a license for. I just know I'm going to be in the trades.
Where did the first job come from? Is there like a secret question you like to ask, like one that you feel like gives you that kind of ability to hone down when you're like, oh, I know if I ask this question, they can either like pass it or fail it. Is there that one question that you think, you tell your younger self, like, hey, Phillip, just ask this one question.
Hey, what stood out about this opportunity? And I just pick on the conversation as it goes. So
all right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Superpro podcast, the heartbeat of home service excellence. I'm Roland Ligtenberg. I am your host. I am also the co-founder of Housecall Pro, and I'm an advocate for all the hardworking pros out there that help make our homes better, safer, and more comfortable. In this case, protected by a fence. We're going to talk in a second here. Through Housecall Pro, I've had the privilege of supporting hundreds of thousands of pros just like you all, empowering you all to achieve more, stress less, and redefine success in our industry. I'm super excited. Today, we've got a special guest. We've got Phillip Grishchenko. He is the CEO of Alpine Fencing. They're based out in the greater Seattle area. They service a big area there. They hit $2.5 million in 2024. They've got a big goal of $3 million this year. They've got 13 employees, 5 trucks, 1 van. They've been at it since 2021. They're growing super fast. I'm really excited to ask Phillip all about what he's doing to grow his amazing business here. Welcome to the show, Phillip.
Thank you. Glad to have you on. And, thank you for having me on too.
Yeah, no, for sure. Tell me a little bit about the founding story of your business. What were you doing before 2021, and what happened, in April or in September when you're like, all right, we're starting Alpine Fencing. I'm doing this myself. We're going to build a company around this. How did that story come together?
Yeah, so before running this business, I was in high school. That's what I was doing. I was just in school, and my parents migrated from the Ukraine about 30 years ago. So growing up in America, all immigrants, they get into the trades. That's the first thing. So grew up in the trades, same with a lot of family members and friends. So I was just naturally influenced, right? You become the byproduct of your environment. So I just knew I'm going to get in the trades. And around high school time, I was about to graduate high school. I was about to turn 18 years old. And all I knew was that when I'm turning 18 in Washington, I could get a business license. And I need to get a business license. And the time came, I was a month away from turning 18, and I go to one of my good friends who was doing $8 million a year with his contracting company for some advice. And his name was Ilya. And I'm like, Ilya, I'm turning 18. I need to get a license. I don't know what specifically I need to get a license for. I just know I'm going to be in the trades. What do I do? And he says, Phillip, I'm a general contractor. Right now, we're doing $8 million a year and projecting to do, 10 and plus the following year. I will give you this advice. I'm a company that does everything. The people who make the most money are the ones who do one thing. They specialize and they try to be the very best in that one thing. That's it. He says, I write out checks to all these subcontractors, and I know who takes the most home because I'm writing him out. And he was like, that's it. I don't know what you want to do, but one thing would be the best. And in me being 17 at that time, I'm like, well, I've done a few fences, so I guess we're doing fences. Literally, that's it. That's the only thought there was to it. And I said, that's it. We're going to do it. I go make an Alpine Fencing account or a license, and that was it. That's the start. Very simple.
That's it. That's awesome. And all right, so now you got your business license. You graduated high school. You're 18. You got your first job. Where did the first job come from? Where's your first dollar? Thumbtack. So you signed up on Thumbtack. You created a business account. You spent some money, or was it part of their free ads?
Probably both. But I was spending money. Yeah.
You're spending some money. A fencing lead comes in. So you show up at the customer's door. They go, "Oh, okay, you're Phillip. How did you pitch it? Hey, I just graduated high school. I know a little bit about fencing. Can I do the fencing for your home? Like, how did that go?"
So I didn't actually have situational awareness or awareness of my age and where I'm at. So I didn't come from perspective like, hey, I'm just out of high school or anything like that. I was just doing what I knew and I was gonna do.
Hmm.
Um, and I just came in like I got to actually shadow my friend once or twice, and I kind of saw what he did. I'm like, okay, that's all I got to do: just show up, take measurements, give a quote. I was not being a salesman; I was just being an estimator. And I came up, did all the measurements, came home, calculated all the materials it would take, put 2x on top, sent it in. She approved. I'm like, this is crazy. I went and did the job. Used my brother's old Toyota pickup truck. It's like a 1987 pickup truck. It's those little ones.
Yep.
Stacked it up with like the old fence panels really high, and
Hmm.
made a good profit. And I was like, wow. I think it was like 2 days of work. I made $3,000, and I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah. That's the goal. And how did you find people to come help you? Because you weren't doing this yourself right out of the gate, or were you doing it yourself and then you found good people?
Yeah. So I started doing it myself. I ended up actually borrowing some money from my brother-in-law to buy my own truck to stop using my brother's. Because I'm like, okay, this is what I'm doing. Um, got by my own tools, one man truck. I was a one man show. That's all I was doing. My main goal was just to make money. I was young
Hmm.
and I needed to get myself a nice M3, a dirt bike, a boat, a better truck, and like that's all I cared about. So that's all I did in the beginning was make money. And I started realizing, I'm limited to myself. And
Hmm.
the time came where I needed help. And like you're asking how to get help. Well, luckily for me, I'm in a big community at my local church. I have a very large community and a lot of friends and younger people and friends, siblings, and so on and so forth. So I just reached out to whoever. I'm like, hey, we got some extra work. Who needs work? Come help me.
Hmm.
And I got these two brothers join, and they were hard working guys. They were paid well, and they started helping me. I started pulling up to the site with them, trusting him, leaving him with all the tools, leaving him with all the materials while I hopped in the truck, went to my next appointment to do estimating while I went and I did, got more materials, kept coming back, dropped off some materials, checked up on them, and just kept going. So that was my like first time stepping outside of just myself.
Yep. I think that's often the hardest first step. And I think, you definitely were good enough to realize, oh wow, I'm connected to this community of great people. I can get some good help from this. And I think the golden nugget there that you just dropped for some others that might be listening is like, take a look in your own community. What are you part of? Is it your church group? Is it like another contractors group? Is it buddies who drive cars? Whatever it is, there's always going to be people within your community that you can probably tap on. And Philip, you found some really good ones to start kind of building the cornerstone of your business, because the next step is you need to go out and actually get the new work, close the new deals to keep them busy, because otherwise they might go off somewhere else and do something else if they're good. What, tell me a little bit about, what was Thumbtack kind of the only lead source? Did you start building referrals? Like, how did you start getting more and more work? Because you had to keep that pipeline flush.
Yeah, so Thumbtack, and then I extended to Home Advisor.
Hmm.
Um, Home Advisor, yeah, I think that's what it was
Hmm.
called. And um, those were just my mainly my two sources for a while until I discovered you could make a website and you can and you could get a Google location going.
Yep.
So I was all doing third party paid leads up until I made that discovery, got a Google location,
Hmm.
got a website going. And the moment I got a website going, I was very blessed within my community to meet a SEO guy who actually developed my website and immediately from the start started paying for SEO for him to do all my search engine optimization so I could be ranking higher and higher on Google. And he started building my domain authority on Google, and I started getting a lot of organic leads through there, my own leads. And I was like, this is crazy. No way. I don't have to always pay these third party businesses. I could invest into my own site and through my own site have people give me all the information and call them up and get scheduled. So that was the progression of that. And now, happy to say I don't use any other, like, I don't pay ads for anything. I only do SEO and I only run organic and obviously word of mouth. So through SEO, my website, or word of mouth.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I think, sometimes when you have to get started, it's easier to go off of, these lead aggregators because they already have that flow. But long term, you want to be able to switch into kind of this organic mode, and maybe you still do some lead stuff, but making sure you've got a claimed Google business profile is huge. Making sure you're asking for reviews, huge. Building up that local SEO, huge. If you don't know how to do that, there's definitely some things that Housecall Pro can do to help, but also just like figure out who you know. There's going to be someone out there that does exactly what they did for Phillip, which is, you've got a really clean website. It's modern, it's nice, it's got great real life pictures. I think too many people use stock photography on all of the things, and just, seeing something that looks real and the 5-star reviews is really important to get in customer. You're like, okay, I'm going to have Phillip and his crew come out and do my fences. Tell me a little bit about what's next for your business. So you've got 13 people now, so you have more than just those two brothers. Where are you finding these other folks? Is it still like the same community? Are you training new people in there? Is it seasonal? Like, walk us through how that works.
Yeah, so same community. And obviously our community is connected with more communities. So just getting the word around, and like the higher talented guys that I received, they weren't directly within my community. I told somebody directly in my community, and they spread the word to somebody they know that I didn't, and they connected us together. And that's it for now. So I was doing that for a while, and my mission and my goal is like go further across the nation, $100 million at least. And I started realizing I can't do everything for the community, as I need to scale up, because if I go into a new market, I don't know everybody, and I need to start utilizing recruiting tools. And one of it was ZipRecruiter, and there's a few more like LinkedIn. And I found real quickly that I like ZipRecruiter the best for me and in the area I'm in, and it was working well. So I started posting on ZipRecruiter, and I was very impressed. I'm like, where do I find this person? But I bought in this belief that the very opportunity I have available and the very need I need filled, somebody out there is seeking for this very exact opportunity with the very exact skill. That gave me all the confidence and the fuel to be like, all right, we just need to somehow meet together. And that was the biggest like mental barrier and belief I had to work through to actually step out and to get some high talent. And I just made a post, put it together, launched it on ZipRecruiter. I'm like, how do I even interview people? What the heck? Like, I'm young. All these people are like, they could be my parents if they want to be. Like, how do I do this? All these little questions. And ChatGPT has a lot of answers. YouTube has a lot of answers. I started asking other like mentors and coaches. And if you seek, you'll find. So I just got all the information I can, and started doing interviews. And through those interviews, out of 12, 10 to 15, you'll find one perfectly exact fit. Like when when it's the right time, you're just like, this is it. This is my guy. There's like all the other people don't matter when you find the right person. And that's what I'm utilizing more now is tools like ZipRecruiter as I'm growing bigger and bigger and trying to find very specialized talent.
Is there like a secret question you like to ask, like one that you feel like gives you that kind of ability to hone down when you're like, oh, I know if I ask this question, they can either like pass it or fail it? Is there that one question that you think, you tell your younger self, like, hey, Phil, just ask this one question. If you do this, you're going to be able to cut out most of the fakers versus, the makers.
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I don't have the secret question yet. But what I do like to ask, the most generic is like, hey, what stood out about this opportunity? And I just pick out on the conversation as it goes. So, no secret sauce yet, but I pick it up pretty quickly as we talk. And I just tell them, hey, we are an underdog story who are going to be going across the nation, and things aren't pretty, and we're growing fast. There's a lot of changes, but who's along for the ride and ready for an opportunity of a lot of growth? This is the place for you. If you don't
Mhm.
want a fast-paced environment and a place to grow up the ladders and provide more value, this is not the place. So I guess my secret sauce is really knowing when to say no. I honestly believe that I would literally, like, if, let's say, right now, even in my business, as we speak, I have more customers and jobs and revenue I could take on than I'm doing.
Mhm.
And your natural temptation is getting anybody to get that job done. I will literally put the brakes on revenue until I find the very right person to get things going. So I learned how to say no until I find the right person, because I learned you put in the wrong person, you spend all the time, you burn yourself with all the time, and then it doesn't go well. And when they are doing, they're screwing up, and then you have to part ways and start over again. So after that, I just wait. It's better to wait a little longer and get the right person.
That's really good advice. And I think, being willing to pause revenue to get the right team behind it, that's usually like a pretty bold statement, because a lot of people will be like, all right, I'll take anybody. I just got to get this revenue. I just got to chase this revenue. But you're really building like a scalable, sustainable team that aligns with your missions and your values. And really, you're telling them the opportunity, that's in front of them, that they can either get on board or not. That's a really good telling question, even without having predefined questions, that are make and break it. What would you tell like your younger self, like kind of what, like, what do you know now that you're like, oh man, I wish I would have told 18-year-old Philip, this one thing or this two things. Like, what would you say?
I would say this. I would say go under somebody professional and experienced, work under them for a good bit before you go out. I
Hmm.
started from zero, like I told you, straight out of high school. I was actually in high school and I was already like getting all the paperwork going and stuff like that. So I had to learn everything through trial and error, everything. And I wasn't that good of asking for help earlier. I didn't know I could just ask help anybody. Like, first of all, maybe our pride and ego gets in the way, but it's go work under somebody, like be humble. Don't be like, oh, I'm gonna go start my own business and just hit wall after wall after wall. Learn from the pros. Be humble enough to ask questions, and when you got the basics figured out, or if you spent enough time working under a business owner and you got to see enough of their mistakes and learn from their mistakes at their expense, and when you're ready, go and start your own thing.
That's good. That's good advice too. Sometimes it's easier to learn on someone else's dime, or just like sit and watch, especially if it's a new trade, to you, before you go at it alone. And then when you do go at it alone, just realize you're not actually alone. You can go back and you can actually find mentors. Because I think you're right. A lot of people will get maybe stuck in the rut of just trying to figure it all out themselves the hard way. Um, you started your business not long after that. You chose Housecall Pro. What were you thinking? Like, what was the thing you were experiencing, and why were you like, okay, I got to find now something to run my business on top of? And how did you come across Housecall Pro?
Yeah, that is a little testimony actually, but I was using Joist at first. I was it all it does is just sends an estimate in like an invoice. That's really it. There's no like project management, no pipelines, like none of that stuff.
Mhm.
And as I started getting more people, everything had to be in my head. Everything had to go through my head, and I couldn't handle that any longer. I was not specifically looking for a CRM system yet at that point in life. I started realizing I only need to start thinking about that. But the way I found it was I was in a season where it was time for me to replace myself from sales, and I needed to hire my first sales guy. And that journey, I was trying w- with all the methods that we spoke earlier to find a new salesman. And ironically, it worked really well for me for the installers. But when it came to
Mhm.
sales, I found nobody. I couldn't. I literally couldn't. All the methods, I post ads, I contacted everybody I knew. 2 weeks, every single day, no one. Not a single bite. Not a single bite. I was pretty frustrated, and I came to the end of myself, and I was like, man, I tried everything, and I'm like, wait. A thought pops in. I'm like, wait, I didn't try everything, and I'm a believer. And I'm like, I didn't talk to God. I didn't pray. I didn't pray. And what I did was like, I'm like, my God, He's my provider. What am I doing? And let me put all my strength, everything I know, and all my resources aside. Right? Let me die to myself.
Mhm.
Put my trust and faith in God, and I'm gonna pray so God could send me because I ran out of my resources. I make a quick prayer. The following day, I show up to the estimate that I had. And as I'm walking up to the customer's house, real quickly, I see another gentleman at the house. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, no way. This client double booked two different companies at the same time. So I'm just here with the competitor and I'm talking to them. And we're having a good time. We're just, our friendly competitor talk. How's it going? And so on and so forth. And we do our whole estimate process, and it was cool because he got to see me, I got to see him. We were just kind of doing it all together with the customer. It was,
Yeah.
by the way, the only time that happened to me in my career.
That's so
and
funny.
and for some reason, we thought it was funny as a joke, switch business cards. So we switched business cards, and we're like, all right, have a good one. If you ever need my service, here's this card. If you need, and like, I'll have your card. The following day, I'm in the office checking emails, and I see I had a missed call, and I get a voicemail, and he's like, hey, my name is Philip, because his name was also Philip. I've met you. I've met one of your salesmen on an estimate yesterday, and I looked into your guys' company. I like what you guys do. I like where you guys are, and I wanted to see if you guys are hiring a sales guy.
And you're like, it was me.
And I'm sitting there. Yeah, two things. Number one, I was like, he didn't know I was the owner. He just thought I was another salesman. But number two, I literally just prayed to God yesterday, and He sends me this opportunity, this guy, and I didn't even ask him. I still put none of my own strengths into it. He called in and asked, and I said, "Come on in." That day he was hired. I had my first sales guy, and I already got to interview him because I already got to see him at that same
Yeah.
client's house, and I'm like, dude, no brainer. So um, that's that story.
That's a funny way of sometimes like the world has, ways of like working out and, it just happens,
I forgot to actually mention, but how did Housecall Pro come into the story? So now
Yeah.
that I have him, he was like, I'm telling him about Joyce. This is how we use it. And he was like, wait, why are you using this? He was like, we use this software called Housecall Pro. And I'm like, really? What is it? He's like, yeah. He's like, well, I already know how to use it. So if you just get it, I'll just be able to run off and get after it. And I'm like, I don't know. Not sure. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't ready for this, but let's look into it. He starts leading me through it. You could schedule jobs. You can manage, everything's one inbox.
Mhm.
It does like all these different things, invoicing. And I'm like, no way. All right, we're doing it. And we just started. And that was it.
So he was the one that actually onboarded you, even though you guys onboarded him, which is really funny. But he already brought the experience, so it made it easier. Because you're like, okay, well, if he already knows, let's go do it. If you had to say now that you know, what's the most underrated feature of House Call Pro? What do you think doesn't get enough attention or not enough people talk about in the community?
At first, I would say the blue chat bubble.
Hmm.
Um,
Tell me about the blue chat bubble.
So the blue chat bubble, I was the guy who I always needed to call in. I always had to call in. I just needed to talk to a human, like give me a human being. And I was frustrated, like, no, use this thing, use that. And I'm like, it's breaking me. And little by little, I'm like, no way, there's all these little articles. So like I'm popping in there, and then I noticed you guys started having little like video clips. And I'm like,
Mhm.
well, this is the same thing as like being with a human in person. showing me on the screen. But
Hmm.
I'm like, but I could do it in the midnight. I could do it at 1 a.m. I could do 11 p.m. I don't need it to be busy during business hours when I'm busy. At any time, I could do it. And I'm like, no way. So like that was the first time where I really felt like something was underrated. And even now with as a busy, every business owner is busy. With my busy time, even when I do need to get to like a specific tech support and then message them, you can message a whole question, just be detailed, drop it, and then go. And hopefully, by the time you get back, they already answered you, gave you all the steps, fixed the bug or something like that. Sometimes they do ask another question, and like some time went by, and you have to answer one more question, and then you move
Yeah.
on with your day, and they just tackle it for you. So I'd say that.
That's cool. Yeah, I don't think I've ever, in all the interviews so far, no one's said that that's the underrated feature. But I think for a lot of pros, there's a lot of different things inside a Housecall Pro, and sometimes if you don't know how to use it, it's great to go ask questions. And then the other piece too is the Blue Chat Bubble now has Help AI, so you could even take that same thing that you send to a human and also send it to an AI, and then see what links it sends you to. Because a lot of times, like you discovered, those articles have videos that you can watch at your own time versus having to be at the mercy of, doing it during business hours. And so if you're, busy during the day and you want to go read or see some videos, after work, you can do it that way. So my advice is do what Phillip said. Reach out to the Blue Chat Bubble and just copy and paste that. Also send it to Help AI, and you'll get links to articles, videos, because sometimes it's easier to see where people are clicking versus being told where people are clicking. Because you're like, where's that button? I can't see the button. But if you see the video, you can be like, oh yeah, it's like that little thing or that little piece. Um, you guys have been using a house called Pro Assist a little bit. How and why did you implement that? And are they doing after hours for you guys, or how does that work?
Repeat that question one more time. Sorry.
Oh, so you guys use House Call Pro Assist (HCPA). How do you guys use that? Is that something you do after hours, all hours? Like how have you got that? How have you integrated that into your business?
Yeah. So I only have one CSR right now.
Hmm.
So if she's on a call, she can't pick up the next one coming besides picking it up, putting them on a hold. So I actually have it all hours. If my CSR can't pick up, it rolls over to her, and then she'll just pick it up from there. And then obviously after hours. So full time.
Yeah, and I think that's a hard thing for business owners too, which is like if you get a lot of reviews, I mean, you guys passed the 205-star review mark. You guys are really well reviewed online, so you're getting a whole bunch. You're 4.9 stars, almost a perfect 5-star. By the way, 4.9 is better than 5 because it shows people that it's a real business versus 5-star seems kind of fake at a certain point. But either way, as those calls come in, even just having it as a rollover, a CPA could just take some notes and then quickly your gal, when she's off of the first call, just call back the next homeowner. But that way that homeowner doesn't go around and calls like 10 other people. You can still be boom, first to that call, you're already on the books, you have that information. Because otherwise it just disappears, right? And then,
It,
that customer's gone.
exactly. Like I was in Hawaii 2 weeks ago, and my CSR was actually out of town too, so she wasn't working, and I didn't have a backup lined up this time. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh snap! So I had to actually fully rely on ACP Assist, and what I decided, I'm like, I'm not picking up any calls, but I'm gonna just respond to any like action item
Mm-hmm.
ones I need. So it was really neat where I'm doing what I'm doing on my vacation, and I just go to my House Call Pro. I go to the ACP Assist messages, and I would read which ones. A lot of them were like schedule appointment, schedule appointment. Like, okay, cool. I don't need to worry about that. And then some are like, oh, customer needs something serious. I'm like, snap. Okay, I'm calling that one. Call it and take care of it then. So
Yeah.
that's very helpful. I don't have to surf through all the extra information. I just take the heavy important ones because I don't have time for all.
Oh, that's good. All right. Last question here. What's your favorite House Call Pro feature? So you can't use House Call Pro Assist and you can't use the Blue Chat Bubble. What's like another feature that you're like, oh dang, this thing you got to have it now that you know what it does.
All right, there's a lot because right now I'm basically using as much as I possibly can at the site that
Yeah.
I own. So, oh, that's hard. My favorite, honestly, right now is Dispatching jobs. I really like the ability to dispatch jobs to my foreman and my installers because I was able to train him how to use that, and I was able to completely detach myself from the whole installation and that whole wild machine, so I could focus more on the business. So I love the fact that I could just dispatch him, and within that dispatch, they'll have all the private notes in there. They'll have everything in there. They'll have it on their schedule. I could tag another installer into it to view it all too. They will not see anything that they're not dispatched to.
Mhm.
So they don't have too much information. I can choose how much they can see in that appointment. So I would say that's the biggest one. If I wouldn't be able to do it without that. That's huge for me.
Yeah, and I think for a lot of business owners too, getting out of working, in the business and then getting onto it is like it's how you're gonna hit this $3 million this next year, which is you can focus on the more meta and the harder problems rather than having to focus on like who's showing up, who's not showing up, who's on what job. You can have your foreman now handle all those components and make sure that all those people know what they need to do and have all the notes they need necessary to get the job done and do it right. That's super cool. Uh,
And
Go ahead.
yeah, and they could message the customer directly without me having to get involved, and I just got to pop in and see what they're messaging about, and that's really it. So
That's right.
um,
Yep.
that's another important piece.
That's good. Yeah, because within so essentially it's a global inbox inside a Housecall Pro. So as an owner, you can see all the messages going back and forth between, your technicians, your installers, your foremen, whatever it is, whatever communications all in place, all from your company line. So rather than all of your folks having access directly to the customer and the customer having the cell phone of your technician or your dispatcher or your installation crew or whatever, it's all going through your company phone number, which is building value for your business, not just side work on the weekends kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super cool. What does it mean for you to be a part of the Housecall Pro community? What does it mean to be a super pro?
Well, I'm pretty new to that, and what it means is everything. If there was no community for the Superpro, um, I wouldn't be at House Pro much longer. That's all I could say for sure. I cannot grow, I cannot go further and where I need to go without this. So I was actually in a desperate search. I found this Super Pro community without knowing there's a Super Pro community by searching online everywhere, going through Facebook, running everywhere. Found that there's a Facebook group. I'm like, no way. Where was I? 30,000 people on a House Pro Facebook group. I asked I asked a bunch of questions, and people were like, "That sounds like a Super Pro question. You should go to Super Pro." And they direct. I'm like, "What's that?" But whatever it is, it sounds something more up there, and I'm like, I need that. So it's very important that community have that access, have that support, have that help, um, access to you guys, having you guys respond. I would have not hang in this much longer without this.
Oh, that's good to hear. And I think for a lot of folks out there that are like, okay, well, what does it mean to be in a group? But you were sharing a little bit too. Our community managers mean a lot, and so these are folks that you can talk to that kind of act as like pseudo coaches that can help you through problems if you need a little bit of extra help. And so on the Super Pro side of things, we've got Shayna Potter there, who's amazing. But even before the show started, you were kind of like, oh man, I do a lot of different coaching, but man, that Shayna gal, she's really good.
Yeah, yeah. Shayna is really good. Like once she reached out because she's the one who gets you on board and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And that's your first impression. It's like they contact you. I'm in this tier. Like you wait for this email, this person will reach out, and then I started talking, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like I got a big sigh of relief. I'm like, okay, so she actually knows what she's doing, or if she doesn't, she could direct me to a source that does know. And I'm
Right.
like, if I do reach out, I do get an answer. And I'm like, no way. This is amazing.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, hey, it's been awesome having you on the show, Philip. Thank you so much for sharing all these words of wisdom. I wish you guys nothing but the best of luck. Doesn't sound like you need luck, though. I mean, you guys are a well-oiled machine. You guys are going to spread across the nation, no doubt. You guys have the right ambition, the right talent, the right reviews, the right systems in place. Super excited. Thanks again for coming on the show, Philip.
Thank you.
All right, and for everybody else, we've got another special guest coming up next week. Another one of our House Call Pros, Super Pros. if you like what you hear if you like what you heard, and you're not using Housecall Pro and you'd like to use Housecall Pro, you can go to housecallpro.com/podcast deal, housecallpro.com/podcast deal. And if you want to text me directly too, my number is 858-215-1512. You can always text me your question, or if you want to talk to a specific demo specialist, happy to get that set up. Thanks again for listening in, and see you all next week. Bye now.
Bye.
The Superpro podcast is brought to you by Housecall Pro, the leading platform for the home service industry. Housecall Pro streamlines your workflows and simplifies everything from scheduling and dispatching to communication and billing. Unlock the full potential of your home service business with Housecall Pro. Work smarter and more efficiently with streamlined workflows and detailed analytics. Win more business and serve your customers well, every single time. Join more than 40,000 home service pros who have already revolutionized their businesses. Work smarter with streamlined workflows, get organized with centralized information, and scale your business your way. Learn more at housecallpro.com.